Hello, my name is Jim Stovey. I am here today to tell you about a new method of travel that is becoming more and more popular with today's young and fashionable folk. Let me tell you a little about myself before we get to our main topic. I'm 27 years old, and my age, I've kind of come to a point where when I travel, I want to travel in style. I want to get there fast, and I want to feel very comfortable. And so therefore this new method is something I will now showcase to you. As you can see, I have an upscale apartment with a piano and generally chic atmosphere. My apartment has a 60s debonair feel to it. And my ride, well, at the minimum, it's very classic. So here's the situation. It is today, December 20th, 2011, in Seattle, Washington. On the 23rd, I'm required at a social event in Colorado, a gathering of hoi polloi and society types, my family. And so, the question is, how to get from here to there in such a time. I will now go into detail the methods I will use and the routes I will take to arrive on time, or at worst fashionably late, in style, in a good mood, not stressed out from traffic, and having my shoes searched for explosives. For short distances, of course, it makes total sense to travel in this elegant 1989 Jaguar XJ6, something you might have seen Frank Sinatra in. However, for interstate travel, I am left no choice. The method of travel I plan on using is known as cargo freight train riding. I will now detail the various accoutrements I will be bringing along with me on this trip. A reasonably warm sleeping bag. A crude and yet fashionably colored pack. Just pair with a little green, i.e., and we fit right in. A comfortable one-piece fleece jumpsuit to be worn underneath this one-piece cotton jumpsuit. And while this one-piece cotton jumpsuit does come off as a bit crude and forlorn, might I add that very many famous movie stars and musicians have worn this exact outfit, and a lot of halfway decent to pretty good music videos. A Tommy Hilfiger down vest, both elegant and warm, to be worn both upon arrival at the destination and also to be donned in the case of accostation by the bull. We take off the coveralls, put on the vest, and voila. You look like a totally different dude than somebody called the cops on. I'd like to add that this jumpsuit is but a chrysalis to be removed, revealing a metamorphosized person with an entirely different outfit on under it. Who knows what could be under there? As I'm sure you may have guessed, not everyone finds this activity quite as elegant and interesting as others. And for those humorless souls, we must adapt enough to have a simple disguise. That's all. A wino who looks like they just climbed out of a trash can metamorphosizes. An entirely new person emerges. That more or less concludes what's going in the pack. But what really makes this trip fabulous and worthy of the Steve Wynn signature or perhaps Donald Trump's, I would say would be the culinary choices which will be brought and enjoyed throughout the entirety of the trip. An assortment of fine cheese, snack meats, and crackers, a mid-grade French red wine, a delicious Italian grapefruit soda, a fresh baguette, Milanos, a smashable milk orange, and Galliano. Later this evening, in the darkest hours of the night, I will steal into the Union Pacific Argo train yard and board a train that will proceed south to Portland, where it will change crew and then make an abrupt 90-degree turn along the Columbia River Gorge to Hermiston, where it will then proceed southeast. Like a large steel worm burrowing into the interior of the country, the train will rampage through Boise and then snake its way along the Snake River Plain to Pocatello. At this point, the trip will be about half over. This should take about 30 hours to get to Pocatello. The train will then cross into Wyoming and roughly parallel I-80 for 350 miles to Cheyenne. One more train south will have us safely in Denver, I estimate in the morning of the 23rd. Right on time. I have now given you the basic details of the task I will undertake once darkness has completely covered the landscape on this solstice night in one of America's most glum cities. Until then, I've been invited to have an aperitif and canopies at the local martini bar. 2,100 hours. A decent selection of private rail cars await being hooked together to depart south. I got down here a little bit early, you know, I don't like to rush, but all indications are that the train that usually leaves at this time is being pieced together right now. The darkness of this yard, there are so many different private coaches to choose from. I like the look of this one. A hiss of brakes can only mean one thing. This vacation is about to start. I have upgraded to a sleeper car to ride in comfort through the night. Look at this. This has got to be night. Look at the interior of this place. It was a tiny bit chilly last night, so I got in the unmanned pusher engine. A little bit more luxurious style ride. And now it's about time to commence our day of Epicurean adventure. Got everything out. Pop the top on this French wine. Just kind of enjoy a lazy day winding through the Columbia River Gorge. Today's cocktail hour features Galliano served neat. And we can see that when held in the sunlight, this excellent liqueur from Italy is pretty much the exact same. As a dilettante of flavor pairings, I must declare that these camembert and prosciutto mini sandwiches International Hotel and Tower are quite correctly a pairing of flavors with this 2009 French Bordeaux. We The scenery along the lower Columbia River Gorge is also decent. It certainly looks like an excellent place for a summer home, or maybe a houseboat. Millions of salmon make their way up this river every year on their endless quest to spawn at the mouth, before being caught, smoked, and made into delectable hors d'oeuvres. I continue with another mini sandwich of baguette, camembert, and salchichon. As the sun slowly makes its way into the western hills towards early evening, we approach a time of the day commonly known as cocktail hour. The imbibement of this delicious, sweet liquid, the flavors of both anise and vanilla, can turn an ordinarily dull experience into a positively luxurious instance. As the sun draws nigh to the horizon, allow me to take this time to briefly summarize what has been undertaken on this entire first full day of travel. So far, I have sat comfortably, stylishly, and not in any way cramped for the first 18 hours of this voyage. I have savored several delectable entrees, from camembert and prosciutto sandwiches on French bread to crackers and a very high-end kind of chorizo sandwich as well. After this, I enjoyed fine French wine and imbibed the poignant, hazy liqueur Galliano. At entirely no point today have I dealt with any plebeian riffraff, such as gas station attendants, airline stewards, and guys requesting you to take your shoes off at the airport. In other words, I've completely avoided the constant dangers of insipidity by adding additional splashes of flavor to every facet of today's voyage. As the winter constellations position themselves squarely overhead, I find myself outside La Grande, Oregon. A little bit behind schedule, but I'd rather travel in comfort than with excess haste. The state penitentiary in Pendleton, Oregon, can look right in the windows at the inmates sitting placidly in their cells. I understand it's almost overfilled these days. A sad sign of our disintegrating society. Yes, what a satisfying sleep in my private coach. Basically a fairly uneventful evening going to Idaho. The most formidable dilemma I'm facing is that, yes, the wine definitely ran out during the night. I don't have another bottle. I guess I'm just stuck with the Galliano. This is Idaho. I have to admit these cotton leisure suits are exceptionally comfortable for traveling in over long distances, and definitely for sleeping. I was getting a little bit hot back there in the heated cab, so take a little excursion to the exterior of the car for a little more visible scenery. This is Pocatello. There's not enough time to get off. It's kind of a backwards hick kind of town anyway. Admittedly, this does appear a bit frigid going to be on the exterior, but once again, Those people just don't know how to pack. Some salami, the remainder of the baguette, and this double Gloucester cheese will make my midday meal. I decided to take refuge again in the heated car as I was being ensorcelled by snow gusts. So now in this more comfortable setting, I will take my lunch. A poignant western sunset over Wyoming. These local rural folk must have difficulty staying warm in their huts outside. What a shame. At Granger Junction, the train has now joined the famous overland route. 300 more miles to Cheyenne. It is not warm outside. However, in my own private cabin, it's very pleasant. The winter constellations will soon position themselves squarely overhead the eastern part of Wyoming. This monstrous mine outside Green River, which draws millions of tons of soda ash every year. This ash is a key component in the vulcanization of rubber, which, as we know, contributes greatly to the manufacture of the tires of Lamborghinis, Aston Martins, and Jaguars. Green River, Wyoming, not much green this time of year. Frigid wasteland outside the exterior of the cab, but in here it's not terribly unpleasant. Rock Springs, Wyoming. The local rowdies generally don't make it too inviting a place for out-of-staters. It's probably the best view of the city you can get. Just blazing right through. Train cruises through Laramie in the darkest hours of the night, festively lit up by the Westerners. The Dyno Nobel explosives plant is the indicator that the trip is about over. About to arrive in Cheyenne, where I have a private chauffeur waiting to pick me up. Train is arriving at the station in Cheyenne, Wyoming, in the early morning hours of the 23rd. Pretty much a completely successful trip. I've got a private coach waiting to pick me up. So that is about the entire trip. Goodbye, my beautiful private coach, and farewell to the train station at Cheyenne, Wyoming. This is Cheyenne. Main fashion here chiefly being Stetsons and Levi's. A little too early to get into this Western wear store, but as you can see, they have some interesting patterns and such down here. The historic depot and plaza. A new image in clothing. That's right. The name of the state on a t-shirt. The festively decorated neo-romantic state capitol. Back in style. And as this trip nears its end, I have to take this time to conclude. I've traveled from Seattle to Cheyenne quickly, comfortably, and with zero inconveniences, such as squeegee men, gas station attendants, traffic jams, avalanches. Now it is time for my final ride down to Denver. Soon this trip will be over. Just like to say, I've had a good time showing you guys how this whole thing should be done.
There you go.
I didn't think I was going to get stuck in traffic on I-25 down at Denver.